A blonde girl with sharp teeth tells someone to throw a fit, saying that watching them squirm is the best entertainment. A boy with black hair thinks that he can't stand her being his childhood friend. He recalls that in that moment he felt something inside him snap. The narration introduces Takayashiki Rua, who is described as a popular idol. Rua is the granddaughter of Takayashiki Taizo, the chairman of the Teikan Group, referred to as Japan's ruling corporate giant. Her wealth and influence are far beyond that of an ordinary person, making her a real-life princess. The boy Suzuki Kazuma describes himself as a plain, gloomy guy without friends or a girlfriend. He considers himself the textbook definition of a loner. Kazuma thinks that his only defining trait is being childhood friends with Takayashiki Rua. He reflects that he has spent his entire life as Rua's shadow. Kazuma thinks that he doesn't want to be special. He just wants to have friends and a girlfriend like a normal person. Kazuma recalls telling Rua how he felt. In response, Rua asked if he was stupid, called him a gloomy loser, and told him to know his place. Rua told him his only worth is being her childhood friend, a fact that has used up all his life's fortune. The words "know your place" are repeated 3 times. Kazuma recalls longing for a normal life, a feeling that continued into the spring of his first year of high school. He remembers receiving a text from Rua inviting him to karaoke with Aya-chan and the others. An image depicts Rua holding a chained Kazuma. Rua's texts suggested that joining her group was the best way for him to get friends and a girlfriend. Kazuma identified Aya-chan as Hiragi Ayaka, a girl from his school. Kazuma reflected that he had never spoken to Hiragi Ayaka. Rua's message told him to take the first step. Looking at the texts, Kazuma believed this was his chance to change. To prepare, he put on his best clothes and went to a hairdresser. He then arrived at the karaoke place and opened the door. He was determined to become a new version of himself. When he entered the room, the entire group, including Rua, erupted in laughter. Members of the group laughed at him for showing up, and for his haircut, calling him gross. One person pointed out he smelled like a hair salon, and another laughed at his jacket. Rua told them not to laugh because he tried his best, then laughed herself. Hiragi Ayaka remained silent. Kazuma stood silently, realizing the invitation was a setup. Rua approached him and asked what was wrong and why he was just standing there. She told him to cry, revealing she had bet 10,000 yen that he would. Kazuma asked Rua if he had done something wrong. He asked what he did to deserve this. Rua replied that the answer was obvious. Rua tells Kazuma it is because he is her slave. She orders him to struggle for her entertainment. The scene returns to the present. Rua tells Kazuma that she can't stand the thought of him being her childhood friend. Kazuma reflects that something inside him broke. He thinks it was the sound of a bond shattering. Kazuma tells Rua he feels the same way. He states that they should cut ties. Rua is silent in response to his declaration. She demands to know what he is saying, and questions how a loser like him could talk back to her. Kazuma replies that she was the one who complained first. Rua kicks the table and yells that she has the right to hate him, but he does not. Kazuma thinks that the world must be mad for a brat like her to be a top idol. Kazuma turns to leave, stating that the matter is settled. Others in the room tell Rua not to worry about him and call him lame. As Kazuma leaves Hiragi, Ayaka tells him to wait. Someone in the room asks if the table is broken. A 1,000 yen bill rests on its cracked surface. The group expresses disbelief that Kazuma could have done it. They conclude a person could not break a table with their bare hands, and decide it must have been cracked beforehand. One of the boys asks Rua a question, but she continues to tremble in silence. Rua screams that she will never forgive him for ending their friendship. Kazuma acknowledges her words. Now outside, Kazuma feels a sense of relief. He thinks the world itself seems to be glowing. He wonders why he allowed Rua to control him for so long. He decides he would rather be alone in high school than sell his soul to a beast in human skin. Kazuma thinks to himself that from now on things will be different. He no longer has to live as Rua's shadow. Standing in the middle of the street, Kazuma tells himself that he is finally free. The scene shifts to an office where Takayashiki Taizoi, the chairman of the Teikan Group and director of Teikai Academy, is reading a document. Rua enters the office and calls out to her grandfather. Taizo's serious expression changes as he greets Rua. Rua complains to her grandfather that Kazuma was mean to her and broke off their friendship. A woman in a kimono, introduced as Rua's cousin Takayashiki Kikura, asks if this is true and suggests Kazuma just got bored. Rua says she cannot believe it as Kazuma has never opposed her before. Kikura remarks that Kazuma did. Kikura asks Rua if she might have said something nasty to Kazuma. Rua denies it. Rua admits that she only said things like, "You're my slave and it sucks being your childhood friend," and claims that is all. Her grandfather Taizo tells her it is natural for Kazuma to be angry after hearing that. Kikura agrees that what Rua said was bad. Rua claims she was just teasing him, and that it is ridiculous he suddenly wanted friends and a girlfriend when he started high school. Kikura says wanting friends is normal, but Rua yells that it is not. Rua says that Kazuma already has the world's cutest princess by his side, so it is unbelievable he would want another girl. She adds that, since she is the one who understands him most, it is fine for her to tease him. Crying Rua screams that she only did it because she loves him. Taizo immediately changes his stance and declares that it is Kazuma's fault. Kikura observes her uncle, thinking he is a doting grandparent. Kikura suggests that if Rua wants to make up, she should be the one to apologize. Rua shouts that there is no way she will do that. Rua tells Kikura that since she is Kazuma's mentor, she needs to fix things. She demands Kikura make Kazuma apologize, tell her he loves her, and then kiss her. Kikura holds a fan to her face and repeats Rua's demand for a kiss while smiling. Kikura asks her great-uncle Taizo if he intends for Kazuma to become Rua's husband. Taizo confirms this, stating that is why he assigned Kikura to teach Kazuma martial arts and leadership, citing Rua's feelings for him and his unique talent. Kikura agrees with Taizo's assessment of Kazuma's talent, admitting she has never seen anyone quite like him. Taizo explains that as part of his training to be Rua's shadow, Kazuma has purposely maintained average grades since elementary school. He suggests that if Kazuma were to stop holding back, his abilities could shake the entire country or even the world. Kikura adds that Kazuma is also very popular with girls. She explains they have had to transfer out numerous girls who developed feelings for him, which is why he remains unaware of his own popularity. Rua says that's her Kazuma. Taizo agrees, calling Kazuma a worthy candidate to take over the Teikan group. Kikura expresses concern that now that Kazuma has cut ties with Rua, he has no reason to suppress himself. She states that things could spiral out of control in academics, athletics, or romance. The next day at school, Kazuma arrives to find his desk overturned with a sign that reads, "His seat has been reset to day 1. Students around him gossip that he went against Princess Rua and must be a dumbass. Kazuma thinks that while he suspected this might happen, it confirms his childhood friend is a terrible person. He considers his two options: return the desk and attend class quietly, or go to the staff room. He dismisses the second option, noting that it is not a real choice for him at Teikai Academy. Teikai Academy is an S-class school that recruits the most talented students in the nation. The school operates on a caste system, dividing students into upper rank and lower rank. The most influential person at the academy is Takaya Shikirua, also known as Princess Rua. Her power is solidified by the fact that her grandfather is the school's chairman. Kazuma concludes that complaining to the staff room is pointless, as the teachers are all subservient to Rua. He considers if his only choice is to put everything back and remain silent. He decides against both options, thinking that since he has resolved to live on his own, there is a third alternative. He then clicks a pen. Kazuma approaches the sign on his desk with his pen ready, thinking to himself that this should be a good solution. Instead of complying, Kazuma writes a note on the sign. It states he will be self-studying, and per Rua's order should be marked present. As Kazuma walks away, his classmates watch in disbelief. They wonder aloud if he is truly defying Princess Rua, and if he isn't afraid of her. Thinking it would be troublesome if he were found, Kazuma heads to a quiet part of the school. He arrives at a door in an empty corridor. He descends a set of stairs into the underground library. He explains that the place is a secret unknown to most students and teachers, which he only learned about from a senior on the library committee. He plans to wait there until class ends. As he opens the door, he reflects that after defying Rua, he will likely never make friends or find a girlfriend, and resolves to live a quiet life alone. Upon entering, he finds a girl with short black hair wearing only her underwear. She is in the middle of changing and turns to look at him. The girl has a shocked and embarrassed expression. A scream echoes through the school. Kazuma narrates that he had no idea a new story was about to begin. The girl from the library is shown blushing as Kazuma's narration continues. He explains that while he sought an ordinary life, he would instead find himself surrounded by extraordinary girls, leading to days that were anything but peaceful. The scene shows Kazuma at the door and the girl inside the library. Meanwhile, Rua sits on a desk in her classroom. She confidently muses that it won't be long before Kazuma comes back crying and apologizing. The scene shifts to a video broadcast on Hero YouTube. Rua greets her audience, introducing herself as their idol Rua Hime, also known as Takaya Shiki Rua. The title of her video is Rua Hime-sama strikes Know Your Place. Her channel has over 1 million subscribers. Rua tells her viewers that she wants to talk about her childhood friend. She calls him a gloomy, friendless loser who is nothing without her. Continuing her broadcast, Rua discusses things that recently annoyed her. She tells a story about going to karaoke with girls from her class, insisting it was an all-girls event because boys are scary. She complains that one of the girls was a buzzkill who sat looking grumpy the entire time. Rua claims this person left halfway through, ruining the party's vibe. Rua addresses her fans, her loyal subjects, telling them they should never be the one to wreck a party. She reminds them of the saying one for all and all for one. She then changes the subject, announcing she has big news about a new job. Rua reveals she is forming a unit and releasing a CD with a new voice actress named Minato Amane. She adds that they are both in the same agency and go to the same school. She announces their debut event will be next Sunday at Shine Mall. She tells her fans that attendance is free and invites everyone to come. Winking at the camera, Rua Hime signs off from her stream, telling her fans she will see them next time. The video's comment section fills with messages. Some fans vow to find the person who upset Rua, while others congratulate her on the duet and ask who Minato Amane is. Back in the underground library, Kazuma apologizes for barging in. He introduces himself as Suzuki Kazuma from Class 1-3. The girl introduces herself as Amane Minato, also from Class 1-3. She apologizes for raising her voice at him. Kazuma says he should have been more careful. He asks if she also heard about this place from a senior on the library committee, and she confirms that she did. Now in her gym clothes, Amane tells Kazuma she has calmed down. A text box describes her as a beautiful but meek girl who lacks confidence. Kazuma asks Amane why she is in gym clothes and why she was changing in the library. Amane apologizes again, explaining she was looking for a place to practice singing and dancing. She says she remembered someone showing her this location. She reveals that she is a voice actress with an upcoming unit live performance and thought she could use the quiet space to practice for it. Kazuma realizes Amane is in the entertainment industry. He recalls that several entertainers attend their academy, including his former childhood friend, Takayashiki Rua, and notes that Amane must be a specially selected student the school has high hopes for. Kazuma observes that Amane is very dedicated, having even brought a full-length mirror to practice. Amane asks him why he isn't in class. Amane explains that when she arrived at school that morning, her desk and chair had been moved into the hallway. A sign on them read, "No seat for you." Kazuma thinks to himself that he has heard this story before. He realizes this is why Amane had tears in her eyes when he first saw her. Kazuma's phone vibrates with messages from Rua, who taunts him about her video and threatens to leak his name. She tells him to come back, kneel, and beg for forgiveness, at which point he blocks her number. Back in the library, Kazuma asks Amane why a special scholarship student like her would be treated that way. Amane quickly denies being anything special. Amane explains that although she is a voice actress, she is not popular. Kazuma comments that he can't see her face well because of her bangs, but he thinks her voice is pretty cute. Amane blushes at his words. Kazuma adds that her voice sounds like a rolling bell and is pleasantly memorable. Amane insists that isn't true, saying there are many better voices in the industry. She says that compared to someone like Takayashiki Rua, she is nothing. Amane continues explaining that she ended up forming a unit with Rua-san. She believes this is probably the reason she is being harassed. She tells Kazuma that yesterday her social media was flooded with comments from Rua's fans saying Rua's status would drop if she teamed up with someone like her. Kazuma thinks to himself that pigs must attract other pigs. Kazuma asks Amane why she teamed up with that pig in the first place. Amane looks at him, not understanding his question. Amane quickly tells Kazuma he cannot say things like that, but he says it is fine since no one is around. She explains it was the agency's decision, and warns him that bad-mouthing Rua at their school is dangerous. Amane says that since she and Rua are in the same school and agency, and because she is plain and gloomy, the agency decided she would be perfect as Rua's background support. Kazuma remarks, "That is a harsh way to put it." He connects her being in the same agency as Rua to Teiken Music, which is owned by the massive Teiken Group, and concludes they would do anything to promote Rua. Kazuma thinks to himself that the desk incident must have been Rua's idea, as she can't stand being paired with someone she considers beneath her. He also thinks Amane is too passive about the situation. Amane says she is okay with being background support. She explains that this is a rare opportunity for her. She tells Kazuma that because of this chance, she wants to give it everything she has so she doesn't drag anyone down. Kazuma tells Amane that he thinks her attitude is cool. He asks if this is why she came to the library to practice, and she confirms it. Kazuma offers to keep her company during her practice. He adds that he can only offer feedback from an amateur's perspective if she is okay with that. Amane agrees and shakes Kazuma's hand. She says she will be counting on him. Kazuma has an internal thought, realizing that Amane is much cuter than the pig, referring to Rua. Later, during lunch break, Kazuma walks through the school hallway with a drink. He thinks about Amane practicing non-stop, and that she might be dehydrated when a voice calls out to him. Rua stands in the hallway pointing at Kazuma. She demands to know where he has been and who he thinks he is to be skipping class. Kazuma thinks to himself, here we go again. Rua confronts him for ignoring her and blocking her on Messenger, declaring that no one is allowed to ignore Ruahime. She then asks if her beauty is making him too embarrassed to look at her. As Kazuma walks past her without responding, Rua yells at the gloomy bastard. A group of male students then steps in to block Kazuma's path. One of the boys with light-colored hair grabs Kazuma's shoulder. He tells Kazuma that giving Rua the silent treatment is rude. Kazuma internally identifies the boy as Asano, a promising baseball scholarship student. He wonders why Asano wastes time with Rua instead of practicing like Amane. Reacting to Kazuma's expression, Asano asks if he's being made fun of. He demands that Kazuma say something. Asano throws a punch at Kazuma. He thinks to himself that he felt no impact from the punch while Kazuma stands there unfazed. Asano turns to see Kazuma is now standing behind him. The crowd murmurs, questioning if Asano missed his punch or if the attack simply had no effect. Kazuma asks Asano what is wrong and if he is out of shape. Asano demands to know what Kazuma just said. As Asano prepares to throw another punch, Rua yells for him to stop. Rua points at Asano and tells him not to lay a finger on Kazuma. She says she is the only one allowed to seriously mess with him, and that others need her explicit permission, telling Asano to know his place. Kazuma gets Rua's attention. She turns to him asking what he wants and calling him Kazu. Rua asks Kazuma if he thought what she just did was cool. Kazuma tells Rua that absolutely no one is allowed to mess with him or bully him. He continues stating that he doesn't care who she is. Kazuma tells her to leave him alone and walks away, leaving Rua in the hallway. As Kazuma departs, Rua collapses to the floor. Her followers rush to check on her. Internally, Rua thinks about how cool Kazuma was. 1 week later, in the underground library, Amane practices a dance routine for her upcoming performance. She loses her footing and begins to fall. Kazuma catches Amane holding her in his arm. Amane calls out his name as he asks if she is okay. Amane apologizes for being clumsy. Kazuma tells her not to worry, saying he wouldn't want her to get hurt before her performance. Amane tells Kazuma that he is amazing, noting that he always seems to appear and catch her whenever she trips. Kazuma replies that it is nothing special. Amane tells him that is not true. She explains that ever since they met, he has been watching over and encouraging her, and he has no idea how much of a help he has been. With tears in her eyes, Amane thanks Kazuma again for everything he has done for her. Kazuma repeats that he did not do anything special. He thinks to himself that no one has ever said something like that to him before. Kazuma points out that Amane loses her balance during a specific part of her routine. He suggests walking back to center stage instead of spinning, but Amane says that it would not look good. Amane says that walking back is impossible because the center of the stage is at least 5 meters away. Kazuma suggests that she could jump back in a single move which would stand out on stage. He shows her how to use the strength in her knees to do it. To demonstrate, Kazuma performs a backflip, clearing the distance as Amane watches. He lands and asks if she understands telling her to do it like that. Amane is silent. Amane says that what he just did is impossible. She asks him what that move was, saying he bounced as if on a trampoline, and that normal people cannot do that. She asks if his PE grades are off the charts. Kazuma denies this, explaining that he has always received a 3 out of 5 since elementary school. Amane wonders what is going on. Kazuma points out that her posture seems a bit off. Amane confirms this, saying she has never been able to fix her slouch, and that her choreography coach got mad at her for it. He suggests that she could take advantage of her slouch instead. He demonstrates a cat-like pose, which Amane recognizes as the start of Satsuki's dance. Amane tries the new choreography, incorporating the cat-like movements. Watching her, Kazuma thinks to himself that the new dance is super cute. Amane says that with the new choreography, something is really starting to click for her. Kazuma tells her, "That's great." He suggests she ask the costume designer to make cat ears and a tail to go with the dance. Amane apologizes and says she cannot use this new choreography for the unit performance. Kazuma asks her why not. She explains that this dance would not match well with Rua. Her role, she says, is to make Rua shine. Kazuma asks if she is really okay with that. Amane says yes, explaining that singing while dancing is not her specialty anyway. She asks if he would watch her practice her acting instead. She declares that she is a voice actor and her dream is to perform as an anime character. Amane explains she is giving her all to her current work in the hope that it will lead to future voice acting opportunities. Kazuma thinks to himself that she is very positive. Kazuma tells Amane that he is envious of her. He admits that he does not have any real dreams or goals. He says he can feel how much she loves her work when she talks about it. Amane asks him if there is anything he wants to become. Kazuma explains that if he had to choose, he just wants to be ordinary. He desires an ordinary life that he can be proud of. Amane smiles and tells him that she is sure he can do it. She says he can become ordinary or even anything he wants. Kazuma thanks her. Amane then says there was something she was wondering about. She asks about the fight she heard he had with Rua. Amane says she was worried that it might have been because of her, but Kazuma tells her that is not the case. Amane asks if she is putting him in a difficult position since Rua is his childhood friend. Kazuma again insists that is not the case at all. Kazuma tells her that Rua is not his friend anymore. He reassures Amane that he was not thinking anything like that. Amane begins to ask Kazuma if he would like to do something with her. She continues to stammer through her request. Elsewhere, Rua runs through the school halls. Rua bursts into the underground library. She screams at Amane, demanding to know what she is doing with Kazu in a cramped place. Rua stands in the doorway and explains she heard Kazuma was there. She demands to know what is happening. Rua points at Amane, calling her a stupid, unpopular trash voice actress. Kazuma looks on as Amane reacts to the insults. Rua realizes Kazuma has been disappearing after school to meet with Amane. She questions why he would spend time with someone she calls gloomy, ugly, and hopeless. Rua breaks down into tears, wailing that she hates the situation. Through her tears, Rua questions why Kazuma is standing next to Amane instead of her. Amane tries to explain to Rua that it is her fault, saying that Kazuma was just helping her. Rua glares at Amane and repeats the name Kazuma-kun. Amane reacts to her expression. Rua shouts that Amane should call him Suzuki-kun, and tells her to know her place. She insults Amane's bangs, calls her a weirdo, and says she is a million years too early to get close to Kazuma. Rua reaches forward and lifts Amane's bangs. Rua reacts to seeing Amane's face. She asks if Amane has shown herself to Kazuma yet, and Amane looks confused. Rua rolls a roll of duct tape and orders Amane to wrap her hair up with it. Kazuma asks where she got the tape. Kazuma tells Rua to stop reminding her that she and Amane are in the same unit. Rua retorts that Amane is just the support role. Kazuma tells Rua that the sidekick she is talking about trains every day just to keep up. He tells her not to get in Amane's way. Rua asks why Kazuma is taking Amane's side, reminding him that he is her childhood friend. Kazuma says he already told her they are not friends anymore, and that he stands by people who work hard. Rua asks if Kazuma is still mad about what happened the other day, saying it was just a joke. Kazuma glares at her and asks what her definition of a joke is. Kazuma asks Rua how many people she has hurt with her so-called jokes. He tells her that she is the one who needs to learn her place, and that as a high schooler, she should know right from wrong. Kazuma turns to Amane and says they should go, leaving Rua standing in the library. Amane agrees. As they leave, Rua shouts after Kazuma, calling him an idiot. She says that she is cuter than Amane and will not lose to a trash-tier voice actress. Outside the school building, Amane apologizes to Kazuma. She says it is her fault that Rua got angry. Kazuma tells Amane that she does not need to apologize. He then says that she has just given him an idea. Amane looks at him with a confused expression. Kazuma explains that if they target Rua's pride, they can throw her off her game. He calls the plan Operation Amanyan Dance. Sometime later, Kazuma gives Amane a package containing a black cat pin set of cat ears. Amane asks him what it is. Kazuma asks Amane if she has a YouTube channel, and she confirms she does. He suggests she wear the cat ears and upload the cat dance they practice. Amane says her channel is too small to get any attention. Kazuma tells Amane that he will help get the video noticed. He tells her to trust him, and she agrees. Kazuma asks if she would consider lifting her bangs for the video. He tells her she is cute, and that it is a waste to hide her face. Amane gets flustered and explains that she is scared of people looking at her, and cannot relax without her bang. She apologizes, saying it is something she needs to fix. Kazuma asks if her agency has said anything about her bangs. Amane replies that they have not, adding that her current look suits the support role image until the unit disbands. Kazuma thinks Rua should have debuted solo. Amane explains their unit is a publicity stunt and will disband after a single CD release. Kazuma comments that showbiz is a dirty business. Amane adds that Rua's grandfather owns their agency, and that she feels Rua is out of her league in both popularity and looks. Amane questions if it is okay to challenge someone like Rua. Kazuma concludes that Amane's lack of confidence stems from an environment where people suppress anyone who stands out to protect their own positions. Kazuma thinks it is no wonder Amane lost her confidence. Amane notes that Kazuma is childhood friends with Rua, and that Rua likes him a lot. Amane finds this amazing, but Kazuma dismisses it as annoying. Kazuma tells Amane she can call him Kazuma. Amane looks up at him. Amane agrees to call him Kazuma-kun. She then asks if he would call her Amane. Kazuma agrees and calls her Amane-chan. Holding the cat ears, Amane promises to do her best for the video shoot. Later, she is asleep at the table. The scene shifts to Amane's video. Wearing the cat ears, she introduces herself as Minato Amane, a voice actress, and announces she will perform her original Amanyan dance. She bows and says she would be happy if people watched until the end. She then says, "Here I go," and starts her dance. A series of images show Amane performing the cat dance. At the end of her video, Amane announces she will perform the song live at an event on Sunday and invites viewers to attend. She asks viewers to subscribe to her channel, but the video cuts off as her battery dies. Kazuma watches the video on his phone and thinks Amane is cute. The comments section shows a mix of negative posts from Rua's fans and curious messages from new viewers, one of whom mentions information gathering. Meanwhile, on her own stream, Rua screams Kazuma's name, but she repeatedly gets it wrong. The title of her video is Rua Hime Strikes Back, Know Your Place. Her subscriber count is shown to be 1.1 million. On her stream, Rua screams at Kazuma, calling him an idiot and demanding to know why he doesn't notice how amazing she is. She stops shouting, lowers her head, and composes herself to transition back into her idol persona. Switching to a cheerful demeanor, Rua greets her YouTube audience, reintroducing herself as their one and only Rua Hime. She asks her viewers if they were surprised by her outburst, explaining it was something called emotional expression acting. Rua claims she was channeling recent frustrations to express anger. She wonders aloud if she should pursue acting more seriously, before signing off as the super-motivated Rua Hime. Rua ends her broadcast by winking and asking her fans to keep cheering for her. Watching the stream on his phone, Kazuma thinks to himself that the whole thing is absurd. He decides that if this is how Rua wants to play, he will crush her without holding back. A comparison shows Rua's video, with tens of thousands of views, next to Amane's video, which has around 50. Kazuma thinks that the cuteness of Amane's nyan dance is the real deal, and that if people could just see it, the video would spread. Sitting at his laptop, Kazuma resolves that his job is to make that happen. Under his online username, Kazuma posts a message praising Amane's video, providing a link, and asking people to watch and share it. Kazuma reflects that while he is a plain gloomy introvert in real life, it is a different story online where he is the vice leader of a large clan in a mobile game and has a considerable network. A few days later, the scene shifts to the school building. Amane shows Kazuma her phone, where her Amanyan dance video has reached 500,000 views in 3 days. She asks him what he did. He says he only helped spread it a little, insisting it wouldn't have gone viral if the video itself wasn't great. Kazuma tells Amane that the video's success is entirely due to her talent. Amane looks at him, visibly moved by his words. Amane tells Kazuma with a smile that a stranger just told her they would be coming to the event. Meanwhile, Kazuma looks at a poster for Rua's CD and notes that Rua has been heavily promoting her own event. So many students from Teikai Academy will likely be there. Kazuma thinks to himself that now all that's left is for her to take the bait. Rua enters the room wearing cat ears. She announces her arrival to Kazuma with a NYA. Amane reacts with surprise to see Rua in cat ears. Rua yells that she saw Amane's video and declares that Amane can't win just by wearing them. Kazuma thinks to himself that he has successfully hooked her. Rua points at Amane and declares that the Sunday event will be a cat ear showdown to determine who is the cutest and most popular. Kazuma observes a twitch at the corner of her lips and thinks that he recognizes it as a sign of her frustration, knowing how her mind works since they were childhood friends. With everything in place, Kazuma thinks that the rebellion against the top idol can now begin. On the day of the event at Shine Mall, Kazuma greets Amane, who is in her performance outfit. She asks why he is there, pointing out that the dressing room is in the opposite direction. Inside the dressing room, Rua tells her manager that she refuses to breathe the same air as that nobody, referring to Amane. In a separate storage area, Amane tells Kazuma she will wait there. Kazuma internally calls Rua a pig. Kazuma tells Amane that it's almost showtime and she'll be fine if she just performs as she practiced. He tells her to be confident, reminding her that he has watched her practice every day and she has improved a lot. Amane asks Kazuma why he is going to such lengths for someone like her. Kazuma repeats the question to himself, considering the answer. Kazuma asks Amane if she also finds their school to be suffocating. He says that while favoritism towards scholarship students is common, the discrimination at Dake Academy is far too obvious. He explains that if someone like her, who isn't a scholarship student, could shine, it could break down the walls the school has built. Kazuma clarifies that his initial motivation was seeing how hard Amane was trying and wanting to support her. He adds that his idea about changing the school was an afterthought. Amane looks at him and says his name. Kazuma pulls a set of cat ears from his bag. He tells Amane he made them for her. Amane asks if he made the cat ears himself. Kazuma confirms, explaining he was looking for something that would suit her and decided it would be faster to make them. Amane puts on the ears, thanking him and saying she is happy. She promises to do her best and adjusts them, but Kazuma reaches out, telling her they are not positioned correctly. Kazuma adjusts the cat ears on her head, patting it gently. He tells her this is the correct position and that they suit her. Amane asks Kazuma what he is doing. He begins to explain that he once tried changing his own hairstyle. Kazuma recalls being invited to karaoke and going to a salon, which made him feel like he had been reborn. He says that unlike in stories, people pointed and laughed at him, but then states that Minato Amane is different. He looks at her and tells her that she is someone who can shine. Kazuma explains this is because she has a dream and has worked hard to chase it. A staff member knocks on the door, telling Minato-san that she is up next. Kazuma gestures toward the door, telling her it is time to go. Kazuma holds out his hand to Amane. He tells her to go steal every fan from the pig-faced idol. Amane takes his hand and agrees. Amane heads for the door, declaring that she is ready. A caption states, "A girl who shines has no enemies." The scene shifts to the event stage at Shine Mall. Rua is on stage with a microphone, thanking everyone for coming. From the stage, Rua greets the crowd, introducing herself as their idol Princess Rua. The crowd cheers, commenting on how cute she is and how well the cat ears suit her. A text box identifies Takayashiki Rua as a top idol who has unacknowledged feelings for Kazuma, who in turn dislikes her. On stage, Rua announces the debut of her new unit, Princess Rua, and her cheerful servants. She tells the audience they will now perform their debut song. Rua decides to introduce the other member and calls for Minato Amane, who walks onto the stage. Amane greets the crowd, introduces herself, and asks for their support. A text box identifies Minato Amane as a beautiful voice actress who met Kazuma in the library basement and usually covers her face with her bang. Rua stares down at Amane. Someone in the crowd asks who Amane is, commenting on how cute she is. Rua is flustered by the reaction. Rua tries to regain control, announcing it's time to start. She thinks to herself that Amane only lifted her bangs a little, and that her own singing and dancing are superior. Rua addresses the audience, telling them to listen as she announces the song title, "The Cutest Dreamer." As the performance begins, the audience continues to buzz about Amane asking who she is and commenting on her cuteness. The crowd's attention remains on Amane, asking where she came from and confirming her name. Someone in the crowd asks if the new girl isn't much better. Another agrees, stating her voice and dancing are both superior to Rua's. Watching from the audience, Kazuma thinks that this is a complete loss for Rua. He thinks that Rua likely believed she would win a contest of singing and dancing, but while Rua was playing around, Amane practiced morning, noon, and after school. Kazuma thinks that Amane's dancing has reached a god-tier level and that she is radiating a divine cuteness. Kazuma reflects that the outcome was decided the moment Rua became jealous of the lowly girl who went viral with cat ears. He thinks that Rua is now just as he once was jealous of a newcomer in her own arena. Kazuma concludes that Rua was dragged onto a stage that wasn't her own and arrived completely naive. On stage, Rua has a furious expression. Kazuma thinks that Rua has been dragged into a fight she cannot win. He watches the stage and notes that the performance is starting. While the audience watches the stage, Kazuma spots several men speaking into earpieces. He sees them begin to head backstage. As the men head towards a no-entry zone, Kazuma decides to follow them. Backstage, one of the men is on his phone, unable to reach his contacts. He realizes he must act before the song ends. The man decides he will have to drag Amane off the stage himself. Kazuma appears behind the man and asks who he plans on dragging off stage. The man turns and sees Kazuma standing over several unconscious men in suits. He demands to know who Kazuma is. Kazuma identifies the man as a servant of the Takayashiki family. He states the man was ordered to sabotage Amane if she did not serve as a proper foil for Rua. Kazuma strikes the man, commenting that he is second-rate for being so careless. He then wonders aloud if the quality of the Takayashiki family's servants has fallen. With the men taken care of, Kazuma thinks the stage is safe for now. He resolves not to let anyone ruin the moment Amane worked so hard to achieve. Kazuma thinks that any attempt to ruin her performance now would be pointless. The audience has already heard her voice and seen her shine on stage. As Amane performs, Kazuma concludes that nothing can stop her now. From the crowd, Kazuma shouts encouragement to Amane. On stage, Amane tears up as Rua looks on. During the performance, Rua loses her footing and falls on the stage. While the audience's attention remains on Amane, Kazuma thinks this is the difference between one who practiced and one who did not. He concludes, the result is cruel but fair. The narrator explains that despite Rua falling on stage, the Shine Mall event was a success. Scrolling through his phone, Kazuma sees that major news sites are only publishing articles that praise Rua. Her fall and Amane's performance are not mentioned. As he walks through the school entrance, Kazuma concludes that Teikai Music is manipulating the media behind the scene. He thinks to himself that they are as dirty as ever. He notes that such things cannot be hidden in the age of social media, as he sees Amane surrounded by classmates. They tell her the video of her performance went viral and that she looked good, with her bangs lifted, which makes Kazuma happy for her. Watching the scene, Kazuma thinks that with Amane's new popularity, it will be difficult for Rua to interfere with her. He figures that Rua must be frustrated by her fall. With the incident spreading online, he thinks she will want to avoid further scandals. Kazuma believes that Amane will now be in the spotlight, and that her talent and dedication will make her increasingly popular. Rua appears and hugs Kazuma from behind. He thinks that his open conflict with Rua will only get in Amane's way, since Rua controls the school and Amane's agency. He decides to step aside and watch her succeed from a distance. As he turns to walk away, Amane notices him leaving the crowd. Amane calls out Kazuma's name as he walks down the hall. She pushes through her classmates to get to him. Amane wishes him a good morning, and he returns the greeting. Amane asks Kazuma if he will help her practice again after school. Kazuma asks why, since the event is over. Amane explains that a different agency offered her an audition for a new anime. She tells him that she is thinking of changing agencies to one that will give her work as a voice actress, not just as an idol. Amane smiles and explains that is why she needs his help to practice acting. Kazuma starts to call her Amane-chan, but she places a finger on his lips, stopping him. She tells him not to use that name, saying she doesn't like it. Leaning in close, Amane tells Kazuma that she wants him, and only him, to call her Amanyan. Watching from the crowd, Rua screams, asking what Amane is trying to do to her Kazu. Kazuma says the name Amanyan and asks if lifting her bangs changed her personality. Amane giggles and replies that maybe it did. Amane corners Kazuma against a wall. She tells him that if she has changed, it is his fault for lifting her bangs, and he must take responsibility. Other students in the hallway watch the public display. Rua collapses. One of her followers shouts that Princess Rua has fainted and calls for an ambulance. Some time has passed since the incident. The narrator explains that after Amane's event, the month of June began. Since then, Amane's fame has grown. She is now busy every day juggling her new gigs with her school life. The narrator notes that the incident at the school entrance caused a buzz for a time. Kazuma reflects on his current situation. He has been labeled as the loner that both Rua and Amane are interested in, but otherwise his life has been quiet. He overhears a conversation between Asano and Hiiragi Ayaka. Asano tells Ayaka he could die happy if he could go on a date with her. Ayaka tells Asano he is acting desperate for a girlfriend. Other students point out he was interested in Amane the other day, but he says this is different because it's Ayaka. Asano praises Ayaka, calling her gorgeous with great fashion sense. He adds that she is a scholarship student in the school's dance program and says he wants a date. Ayaka informs Asano that she already has a boyfriend. Asano reacts to the news with shock. Other students confirm the news to Asano. A girl explains that Ayaka is dating a college student. Ayaka tells Asano to give up, saying she isn't interested in guys without a car or cash. When he offers to buy her tea, she scoffs and shows off a new handbag. She tells Asano she never asked her boyfriend what the bag cost, but bets its value is equal to 1,000 cups of tea. The other students laugh. They comment that for Ayaka, it's all about money and look. From his desk, Kazuma identifies the group as the elite clique of scholarship students. He thinks that they can be as loud as they want without consequence. Kazuma notices a girl with glasses standing near the group. He realizes Ayaka is sitting on that girl's desk. He recognizes the book the girl is holding. It is one he returned to the library from the underground archive, and he is glad she found it. Kazuma thinks it's a good book, and assumes the girl is eager to sit down and read it. After watching for a moment, Kazuma decides to act. He walks over to the group and calls out to Hiragi. She turns around. Kazuma tells Ayaka she is not at her own desk and should let the other girl have the seat back. Ayaka glares at him in disbelief. She stands and tells Kazuma not to talk to her like they are friends, calling him a gross loner. He states the bell is about to ring, but she retorts that it hasn't yet, so she can do what she wants. Kazuma thinks to himself that Ayaka is as stubborn as ever. He recalls the icy glare she gave him at karaoke and concludes that she must hate him. Without another word, Kazuma lifts Ayaka into his arms. She and the other students stare in shock. Ayaka's face turns red in reaction to Kazuma's actions. Kazuma carries Ayaka across the classroom as the girl with glasses watches. He places Ayaka on her feet and tells her to move. Ayaka screams at Kazuma, demanding to know what he is doing. She calls him a gloomy loner, and Rua's lapdog yelling that he cannot get away with this. Rua enters the classroom and greets everyone. Rua notices the atmosphere and asks what is going on. She approaches Ayaka and asks if her Kazu did something. Ayaka stammers a denial, and Kazuma tells Rua that he is not hers. He states that he has told her this many times, and that they are just strangers now. Rua asks why he has to be so cruel. With tears in her eyes, she says that she cares about him. She brings up how he sided with a voice actress she calls trash the other day. Kazuma repeats what he told her before he stands with people who put in the effort. As the bell rings, Kazuma adds that he has no intention of backing a spoiled pig. He opens a part-time job magazine and thinks to himself that he is finally free to live like a normal high schooler. He thinks that working hard and earning his own money is a noble goal. He wonders what kind of first part-time job would suit him. He spots a well-paying ad for a maid and butler cafe. He remembers living at the Takayashiki estate in middle school where he was trained in serving. Thinking he can use that experience, Kazuma decides to apply and circles the ad in the magazine. An older woman in a maid uniform stands outside a cafe. She informs Kazuma that he is hired and can start this weekend. Inside the cafe, the woman tells Kazuma he seems serious and polite with good manners. She expresses her relief that he applied for the job. The woman explains that the cafe is small, so only 2 people handle the floor while she is in the kitchen. She tells Kazuma not to worry, as he will be working with a dependable senior who is sweet and easy to talk to. As he leaves, Kazuma thinks about the dependable senior he is supposed to work with and hopes she is a nice person. On his first day of work, Kazuma enters the cafe. A girl in a maid outfit is mopping the floor and drops her mop upon seeing him. The girl is Hiragi Ayaka. She recognizes Kazuma and thinks to herself that he cannot be the new part-timer. In a flashback, Ayaka recalls Kazuma's words about supporting people who work hard. She interprets this as him testing her love and resolves to do her best for him. Back in the present, Ayaka thinks to herself that this is the worst possible situation. Ayaka points at Kazuma, stating that she has been hiding this job from everyone and refuses to accept him as her junior. She exclaims that he is the last person she wanted to find out. She asks why he is being so quiet and tells him to say something. Ayaka asks if he thinks it is weird or ridiculous that she is working in a maid outfit, challenging him to laugh if he wants to. Kazuma asks why he would laugh at someone who is working hard. Ayaka blushes and becomes flustered. She denies that she is working hard. She insists she is only doing the job for the good pay and that it is not serious. Kazuma asks if that is true, noting that she appears to have cleaned the place thoroughly. Ayaka suggests someone else did the cleaning, but Kazuma points to the details. He mentions the corners of the windows under the chairs and behind the lights have all been cleaned. He also notes her hands are red from the water. Kazuma adds that her knees are dirty. He concludes that she must have been scrubbing hard to reach places on her hands and knees before mopping the floor. Kazuma tells Ayaka her work is impressive. She turns away and exclaims that he is annoying. Ayaka turns back to Kazuma and tells him to change into his uniform. She adds that she has a lot to teach him before they open for business. Later, the cafe is open for business. Kazuma, now in his butler uniform, thanks Ayaka. She replies, sure. Ayaka takes a customer's order confirming they want the A set with Neapolitan pasta and an iced coffee to be served after the meal. She approaches a family waiting for a table. Ayaka apologizes, explaining the cafe is crowded, and offers them a menu to look at while they wait. At the register, Ayaka gives a customer 45 yen in change from a 1,500 yen payment and thanks them. While clearing dishes, Kazuma observes Ayaka. He thinks to himself that she is completely different from how she is in the classroom. Kazuma reflects that she is not putting on a front. He thinks she seems to be enjoying herself more than at school, looking lively and spirited. Kazuma carries a large stack of plates through the bustling cafe. thinking that he needs to make sure he does not slow them down. After the lunch rush, Ayaka rests her head on the counter and exclaims that she is exhausted. Kazuma comments on how busy it was and asks if lunchtime is always like this. Ayaka confirms that it is, but adds that it calms down until the evening. Kazuma notes that it must be tough to juggle the job with her dance club. Ayaka laughs and agrees, but boasts that since she is a genius, it is a piece of cake. Ayaka asks Kazuma if this is his first part-time job, commenting that his quick movements amazed her. Kazuma replies that he is glad he did not get in her way. Ayaka insists that he was not a hindrance at all, but was actually super helpful. She explains that thanks to his help, they finished cleaning up an hour earlier than usual. Leaning over the counter, she thanks him. Ayaka suddenly stops and says they cannot be friendly. She insists they are supposed to be enemies, prompting Kazuma to ask why. Ayaka explains that because Kazuma broke ties with Rua, he is automatically their enemy. Kazuma agrees he cut ties with Rua, but says that does not make him an enemy of Ayaka and her friends. Ayaka then brings up the time he stormed out of karaoke. She asks if he hates them as well. Kazuma replies that he does not. He adds that the situation was orchestrated by that pig. Ayaka asks who he is talking about. Kazuma clarifies he means Rua, and asks if the karaoke incident was her order. Ayaka confirms it was. He then tells Ayaka that he admires her now. He explains that he admires her efficiency and thoroughness at work, and asks if she will teach him more. Kazuma addresses her as Hiragi-senpai. Ayaka says she supposes she has no choice, and agrees to teach him, calling him her junior. She warns him that she will be strict, so he should prepare himself. Kazuma agrees and asks if he can ask his senpai a question. She tells him to ask. Kazuma asks about a male customer who came in earlier. He points out that Ayaka switched tasks with him when that customer arrived and asks why. Kazuma suggests it was because the dishes were piling up, so he let her handle the easier customer service. Ayaka calls him a liar. Ayaka says that based on his work today, she knows he is not that kind of person. She insists there must be another reason he switched with her. Kazuma tells Ayaka the customer was there for her. He explains that he saw the man staring, fiddling with his bag and taking photos. Kazuma asks if this has happened before. Ayaka confirms it has and expresses surprise that Kazuma noticed just by observing the man. Kazuma asks why she doesn't kick the customer out, questioning where her boldness from school has gone. Ayaka says that she can't. Ayaka explains she can't say anything because he is a customer. Kazuma tells her she's too serious and says that from now on he will handle that customer. A blushing Ayaka thanks Kazuma. Ayaka tells Kazuma that he is kind, but she is interrupted by the cafe's door chime. She turns to greet the new customer. The new customer is Amane, who waves and calls out to Kazuma. Both Kazuma and Ayaka react to her arrival. Amane explains that she heard Kazuma started a part-time job and says that Amane had to come see for herself. Kazuma observes that Ayaka is frozen in place. He thinks to himself that she does not want anyone from school to find out about her job. Kazuma tells Amane she must be mistaken. He then guides the still frozen Ayaka towards the back, telling her to take her break. Kazuma serves Amane a cream soda. She thanks him. Amane tells Kazuma that the cafe is a lovely place, and the cream soda is delicious. She explains that she has a big job coming up and came to recharge by seeing him in a tuxedo. As she eats, Amane smiles and says that Amane is very happy. Kazuma comments that her voice acting career seems to be going well. Amane confirms she has secured 3 regular roles, then says she has a question. Amane asks if Rua has come by the cafe. Kazuma says no, and explains that he has not told Rua about his part-time job. Amane tells Kazuma that Rua has apparently taken a 2-week break. She finds it strange for someone so popular to take such a long vacation and worries she might be planning something. Amane realizes how late it is and says she needs to go. Kazuma warns her to be careful, and she acknowledges his concern. As Amane walks away, Kazuma tells her to take care. Before leaving, Amane turns around and embraces Kazuma. Amane pulls back with a laugh, announcing that she is now fully charged, and her power is at its maximum. As she exits through the front door, Amane thanks Kazuma for the treat. Kazuma watches her go, thinking to himself that Amane has really brightened up. He believes that being free from Rua's influence has allowed her to find her true self again. Kazuma internally vows that if Rua tries anything again, he will handle it himself. Peeking from the back room, a blushing Ayaka wonders what she just witnessed. Ayaka recognizes Amane as the increasingly popular voice actress from their school. She recalls hearing rumors that Amane and Kazuma were close, but had dismissed them as false. Ayaka reflects on how close the two of them seemed. She is relieved that Kazuma didn't tell Amane about her part-time job. Ayaka continues to blush as she processes the scene. She thinks to herself that Kazuma is a good person. The scene shifts to a video stream. Rua greets her audience, introducing herself as Rua Hime, also known as Rua Takayashiki. The stream's title is Rua Hime Sama Strikes Know Your Place, and the subscriber count is 1.12 million. On her stream, Rua tells her audience that she recently learned from a close friend that working hard is important. She continues saying this got her thinking about what she should work hard on for the sake of someone important to her. Rua says she has realized she needs power to protect the people she cares about. She explains that when she told her grandfather, he supported her and offered to lend her some things. Rua announces that she will be taking a 2-week break starting tomorrow to go on a trip with her grandfather. She adds that she will do her best to make her grandfather happy, but worries he might get too excited because he loves her so much. Rua waves goodbye to her viewers, telling them to work hard with her, and that she will see them later. 1 week later, Kazuma is seen outside the school. Inside a cafe, Kazuma is changing his shirt. Ayaka enters the room and sees his muscular back. Ayaka blushes. She asks why he is changing there and calls him an idiot. Kazuma explains the changing room is for girls only, and she calms down once he is done changing. Ayaka asks Kazuma if he is okay. When he asks what she means, she points out that his back is covered in scars. Kazuma tells her the scars are from a long time ago and that he is fine now. Ayaka blushes and tells him that he is ripped. She asks if he was in a sports club or underwent special training, noting that you can't tell when he has his shirt on. Kazuma clarifies that he was not in any clubs but used to train a little. Ayaka asks what he means by used to. Kazuma jokingly asks if she is interested in men's bodies. Ayaka is flustered by his question. Ayaka denies it, stating she has seen that kind of thing plenty of times. She adds that she has already done everything with her boyfriend. Kazuma apologizes, saying he understands she is an experienced, mature woman. Ayaka stammers that he is correct. Kazuma formally says he will be counting on her guidance. A flustered Ayaka tells him to just try and keep up. As they stand together, Kazuma laughs quietly. Ayaka gives a shy smile. Later during his shift, Kazuma thanks a customer. After the rush, Ayaka, wearing a mask, says the manager got sick, but they managed to get through it. Kazuma notes that things have finally calmed down. As Kazuma decides to start washing dishes, a male customer calls out to Ayaka, reminding her that he has told her something before. The customer tells Ayaka that his order is her. The man invites Ayaka to get in their car for a drive to the beach. Kazuma internally recognizes this as a textbook pickup attempt. Ayaka stammers, unable to respond, and quietly asks the men to please stop. The men laugh, calling her reaction cute, as one of them grabs her arm. Kazuma approaches their table and asks Ayaka what is wrong. He asks if she is holding back again because they are customers. A customer tells Ayaka to lift her skirt for him, asking for a peek. The customer grabs at Ayaka's skirt, commenting that she must want to show it off because it's so short. Ayaka pleads with him to stop. The man's friends encourage him, calling him Kachan and boasting that he is a karate master who can smash 10 roof tiles. They add that he might go berserk. Kachan tells Ayaka to do as he says. Kachan picks up a glass bottle and boasts that a karate master can cut it with a bare hand. Kachan declares he will show her and prepares to strike the bottle. Kachan attempts to chop the bottle with his hand. The bottle slips from Keika's grip and flies across the room. One of his friends says, "Oops." Kazuma catches the bottle. Kachan demands the kid give it back, shouting that he will succeed this time. His friends laugh. Kazuma holds up the bottle, preparing to strike it himself as Ayaka watches. Kachan asks what Kazuma is doing. Ayaka says Kazuma's family name Suzuki. Kazuma takes a breath and readies his hand. With a single swift motion, Kazuma chops the glass bottle in half. Other customers in the cafe react with surprise. A little girl calls Kazuma cool, and her mother comments that she has never seen anyone do that before. Kachan and his friends stare in silence. Kachan confronts Kazuma, yelling and asking who he thinks he is. He claims Kazuma was just lucky and that it doesn't mean he is strong. Kazuma replies that of course he is not, as he clenches his fist. Before Kachan can react, Kazuma strikes his throat. Kachan collapses to the floor, unable to speak. His friends call out his name and ask what happened. Kazuma adjusts his tie and addresses the fallen Kachan. He states that if the hit wasn't too hard, Kachan should recover in a few days, but won't be able to speak for now. Kazuma tells the group of men they don't have to pay, calling it compensation for their friend's throat. Leaning down, Kazuma whispers to Kachan, warning him to never return to the cafe and to stay away from her. Kachan's friends help him up and leave the cafe. Ayaka approaches Kazuma with tears in her eye. He asks if she is okay and tells her she did well enduring the situation. Blushing, Ayaka tells Kazuma not to act so cool and calls him an idiot. She says she was about to tell the men off herself and that he stuck his nose in for no reason. The other customers in the cafe begin to applaud, commenting on how satisfying the scene was to watch. Customers agree that the men have been causing trouble for a long time and that it serves them right. A female customer tells Ayaka she is lucky to have such a wonderful boyfriend. Ayaka reacts to the assumption. Ayaka denies the customer's claim, insisting that Kazuma is not her boyfriend. The customers laugh at her reaction, pointing out her blush and calling her cute. A close-up of Kazuma followed by a shot of an older man. Kazuma apologizes to Ayaka, explaining that the customers seem to have gotten the wrong idea about them. A blushing Ayaka replies that it is fine. Ayaka thinks to herself that she should be the one apologizing for her earlier behavior. Kazuma tells Ayaka he is stepping out for a moment, explaining that a customer appears to have forgotten something. After Kazuma leaves, Ayaka stands alone in the cafe, wondering why she cannot say what she really feels. Outside in an alley, Kazuma approaches the older man who was observing the scene in the cafe, telling him he forgot something. The man turns, recognizing Kazuma as the waiter, and calls him thoughtful for following him. The man checks his pockets, confirming he has his keys, phone, and wallet. He asks Kazuma if there has been a mistake. Kazuma holds out a small black device, explaining that it was stuck under table 8 and appears to be some kind of bug. The man calls the device creepy and tells Kazuma to be careful, citing the men from before as an example of the sketchy people in the area. Kazuma states that to him the man seems far more dangerous than the 3 men from earlier. The man laughs nervously, but Kazuma explains his reasoning. While everyone else in the cafe was watching the commotion at table 2, the man was the only one looking down. Kazuma continues, noting that the man was not scared, but composed. He points out that the man calmly reached under the table at the exact moment Kazuma sliced the bottle, which is not normal behavior. Glaring Kazuma calls the man a little rat. The man's expression hardens. He turns and runs, and Kazuma pursues him down the alley. Kazuma catches the man grabbing his clothes. The man comments that the rumors about the top 10 must be true, identifying Kazuma as the pride and genius of the Takayashiki family.